This is part two of my video where I'm discussing the hallmarks of aging. These are the underlying factors that constitute the aging process. These are the things that cause you the age, and it's complex. One of the main points I'm trying to make in these videos is that aging is a very complex process. In science, they call this multifactorial, meaning that there's not one particular thing that causes aging. It's a congruence of several factors that cause. That's why aging is so difficult to control. So let's continue on with the other hallmarks of aging. When I last left off, I was talking about the loss of proteostasis, or the misfolding and the aberration of protein structures in the body. The next hallmark of aging is called deregulated nutrient sensing. Nutrient sensing is a cell's ability to recognize and respond to changes in the concentration of nutrients such as glucose, fatty acids, and amino acids. However, with age, you tend to get an imbalance. Now, let me explain. There's a substance I mentioned earlier called mTOR, which stands for the mechanistic, let's call it the mammalian, hold on, what is it? mTOR, the mammalian, it inhibits, mammalian target of rapamycin. As the name implies, it works by it inhibits. I'm getting all confused now. mTOR. Anyway, mTOR is the cornerstone of protein synthesis in the body. When you work out, when you train with weights, when you take anabolic steroids, when you take amino acids, essential amino acids, especially leucine, you stimulate mTOR. mTOR plays a pivotal role in protein synthesis. In other words, is involved in the growth of cells in the body. Now, there's another substance called AMPK. AMPK is kind of the opposite of mTOR. AMPK stimulates autophagy, which I mentioned earlier is a cleaning out of dead cells in the body, whereas mTOR stops autophagy. Now, you have to have a balance between mTOR and AMPK to stay healthy. But with age, mTOR tends to dominate. And when it dominates, it tends to stimulate the aging process, and it stimulates adverse conditions such as cancer and increased brain aging. You can inhibit, mTOR is inhibited, as I said earlier, by taking the drug rapamycin, or also by dietary restriction, in other words, reducing calories. These are ways to increase or decrease mTOR. A more rational way is to do things that will increase AMPK. That includes exercise. It includes the drug metformin. It includes the herb berberine. All of these increase AMPK, and they will offset some of the negative effects of mTOR. So again, deregulated nutrient sensing is one of the hallmarks of aging. The next one is particularly important for people involved in exercise, and that's mitochondrial dysfunction. The mitochondria are the energy powerhouses of the cell. They're cigar-shaped organisms that reside or are found in the cytoplasm of the watery portion of cells. Different cells contain either several or up to 2,500 mitochondria. Mitochondria is the portion of the cell where energy is produced as ATP and fat is burned in a process called beta oxidation. So when the mitochondria check out, when they disappear with age, the cell loses its fuel source, and also that causes the cell to go into senescence. It basically dies. So keeping mitochondria going is a very important aspect of staying younger. Mitochondria tend to concentrate in high energy tissues like the brain and muscles. In fact, one theory of why sarcopenia, or muscle loss with aging, occurs has to do with a loss of mitochondria. So what you want to do here is exercise is the best natural way to maintain mitochondria both weight training and aerobic training will maintain mitochondria. In particular, if you do what they call high-intensity aerobic intervals, that's really good, especially good for not only maintaining existing mitochondria, but also promoting the development of new mitochondria, a process called mitobiogenesis. And it also stimulates the autophagy that's specific to the mitochondria. It's known as mitophagy. Now, there is a supplement that you can take. There's two, actually. There's three. There's three supplements that are particularly beneficial to maintaining mitochondria. The first one is called coenzyme Q10. Coenzyme Q10 actually works in the mitochondria in what they call the electron transport system that's involved in the production of ATP, but it has an antioxidant activity. Now, in the course of producing energy as ATP, the mitochondria uses tremendous amounts of oxygen, and unfortunately, this oxygen tends to release what they call free radicals, which are toxic byproducts of oxygen metabolism that can actually harm the mitochondria. The mitochondria has its own built-in antioxidant system, which includes coenzyme Q10 and glutathione and a couple others. Unfortunately, with age, the natural antioxidant protection inside the mitochondria tends to decline, and when that happens, the mitochondria start to die off, and when that happens, your cells die off, which you'll recognize as aging in the skin and the muscles everywhere, in the brain. So the first nutrient that helps is coenzyme Q10 because it's an kind of a antioxidant that's particularly important for helping the oxidation effects in the mitochondria. The second one is called urolithin A. Urolithin A is actually a product of you find it. It's a product of what they call it's a natural substance that's found in pomegranates and other foods, which I can't recall the name of at the moment. But in the body, this substance is converted into urolithin A in the intestine, in the intestinal microbiome. However, 40% of people lack the bacteria needed to convert this substance from pomegranate and other fruits into urolithin A. Now, so if you take urolithin A supplements, several studies have found that it increases mitophagy, or it increases the ability of the body to get rid of old, bad mitochondria, and it allows the development of new mitochondria, which will translate into increased endurance when you're training, and even about a 12% average increase in strength. So the third one, there's another supplement. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it. God, I've written about it too. But what this supplement does, it increases PGC1A, and that's the master promoter of mitochondrial biogenesis. The good news is that you can increase PGC1A by simply doing exercise. Again, high-intensity aerobics intervals or even weight training. The type of weight training you'd have to do to increase mitochondria is minimal rest between sets. You'd have to train fast, and that's what produces mitochondria from weight training. But you automatically get it when you do any kind of aerobic training. So the next hallmark of aging, I've mentioned several times already, is cell senescence. When the cell dies, that basically they take up space, and they increase these inflammatory markers, which are known to stimulate various diseases. Senescence can be induced by telomere shortening, DNA damage, and stress. The immune system is programmed to seek out and eliminate senescent cells. Lately they've come across a couple of therapies that they think can also help remove senescent cells from the body, which would have a tremendous effect at decreasing the rate of aging. One particular interesting combination is the nutrient quercetin. Quercetin was found in onions and other foods, and a substance found in various fruits and vegetables, especially in strawberries, called fisetin. The combination of quercetin and fisetin effectively helps remove senescent cells, and in that way it'll help actually slow down the rate of aging considerably. But it's the research on this is it's kind of in its infancy. They've shown that it works in a lot of studies, but there's ongoing studies of fisetin and quercetin to see the correct dosage and whether it continues to work in humans. These are studies that are going on right now. Another hallmark of aging is called stem cell exhaustion. The stem cells are undifferentiated or partially differentiated cells which have the unique ability to self-renew and differentiate into different cell types. Now, give you an example of stem cells. In your muscles, stem cells are called satellite cells. Now, what the satellite cells do, they're involved in the repair of damaged muscle, and also they're involved in the building of muscle, the increase in muscle fibers, which we call muscle hypertrophy or growth. So satellite cells or muscle stem cells are very important for repairing a muscle that is damaged, let's say, during your workout, and also for promoting muscle growth after your workout. But with age, you tend to get these stem cells tend to die off, especially in muscle. If you are sedentary, if you don't exercise, you will gradually lose a lot of your satellite cells in your muscles. Your muscles will atrophy and become weak, and you get this condition called sarcopenia, which is a loss of muscle closely associated with mortality or death. As far as what else? IGF-1, the famous anabolic hormone that a lot of bodybuilders, athletes use. The muscle, IGF-1 is produced in the liver and directly in muscle. In muscle, it's produced when you exercise. And what IGF-1 does in muscle is it stimulates the differentiation and promotion of satellite cells. That's why IGF-1 in muscle is anabolic. So it shows you the power of stem cells. The good news is that continued exercise throughout life, especially resistance training, can help maintain most of your satellite cells. You'll inevitably lose some of them. There's no way around that. You'll lose some, but they've shown that in older people, even people who haven't exercised for years, once they see when the stem cells or the satellite cells aren't being used, they go into a state of what they call quiescence. In other words, they just sit there. They don't. A lot of them stay there. They don't necessarily disappear, but they're not active. They've shown in studies with older people that if you get them working out again, like a resistance training program or even aerobics, it can reactivate their satellite cells, which means that their muscles are basically become alive again. In other words, it's a very healthy thing to do. The next hallmark of aging is altered intracellular communication. Basically, as it sounds, this has to do with communication between cells. One of the more obvious problems associated with altered intercellular communication is what's known as inflammaging. This has to do with increased systemic inflammation that occurs it's a chronic low-grade inflammation that occurs throughout the body with increased age, and it's associated with every degenerative disease known to man. And again, this is a major cause of aging, systemic inflammation. And as I said, one of the main causes of systemic inflammation is the senescent cells, or the zombie cells that sit there, and they secrete these molecules called SASP, which stands for senescence-associated secretory phenotype, which induce senescence in other cells, and basically increases the rate of aging. So what they're trying to do again is they're trying to introduce drugs called senolytics, which will actually remove senescent cells from the body. They're beginning to realize that the accumulation of senescent cells is one of the major causes of aging. Now, there's other factors involved in aging, such as what is it called again? AGEs, advanced glycation end products. These are basically what occurs with that is when sugar or glucose becomes part of a protein structure, it alters the protein structure and weakens it. It can happen in connective tissue. It can happen all over the body in different cells. It's also considered, it's not one of the hallmarks of aging, but it's involved in some of the processes I mentioned in these videos. AGEs, they're advanced glycation end products. There's certain things that help combat that. One of them is a nutrient called carnosine, which you can either, a good way to get carnosine is to take the supplement beta-alanine, which is converted into carnosine in the body. And also a good way to cut down on the production of AGEs in the body is to not overcook your food. When you overcook your food, you increase the content of AGEs in the food. Now, how much of the AGEs is actually absorbed is still open to debate among researchers, but most researchers say that you can absorb some of these advanced glycation end products in food. Advanced glycation end products are what's responsible for a lot of the more obvious signs of aging, such as stiffness. You see people when they get old, they can't move as well. They feel real stiff. They lose their speed and all this kind of stuff. Skin aging, wrinkles also has to do with accumulation of AGEs. So reducing the production or controlling AGEs goes a long way towards slowing the more obvious signs of aging. But I mentioned early in the video, I'll say it again, rather than concentrate on one particular supplement or another as a means of halting the aging process, which simply won't work because of these various, you see how many of these hallmarks of aging there are. I mean, a supplement might take care of one or two of the hallmarks of aging, but it won't cover them all. So you're still going to age no matter which supplement you take and no matter what these videos or these scientists tell you. Now, the one factor or the one activity that they found covers almost all of these hallmarks of aging, meaning it helps to prevent them or even in some cases block them, is free. It's exercise. Exercise will reduce all of the hallmarks of aging. The body is made on a use it or lose it basis. Whatever you don't use, you lose. Whether it's your brain cells or neurons or your muscles, the body is made to move. Most diseases, metabolic diseases like diabetes and cardiovascular disease are due mostly, well, cardiovascular disease has a nutrition aspect, but a lot of it has to do with inactivity and lack of exercise. And diabetes is very much related to a lack of exercise because your muscles are your main glucose disposal organ. And if your muscles aren't active, the glucose can accumulate, cause insulin insensitivity, which leads to diabetes, type 2 diabetes. So for anyone who wants to minimize, well, let's say slow down the aging process effectively, should exercise. And when I say exercise, I mean both resistance training and aerobic training. You have to do both. You can't do one or the other. A lot of people will go in the gym and do resistance training and not do any endurance training or aerobics. That's a big mistake because aerobics do things that resistance training cannot do and vice versa. So you have to do both. They're partners. If you think, by the way, that a lot of people get the idea that if they do something like circuit training, which involves doing let's say 5 or 6 weight trainings, weight exercises in a row with no rest in between, because you're breathing so hard and your pulse goes up, they think that's the same thing as doing aerobic training. It is not. It is not. Yes, you get some cardiovascular benefit from it, but it does not work the heart the same as aerobic training does. And you have to have resistance training also. There's no way around it. I'll give you a flat statement here. Anyone who does not engage in both weight training or some form of resistance training and aerobic or some form of aerobic training, and you know, there's stuff like gardening and slow walking, that doesn't count. You have to have a little bit of intensity. I mean, you don't have to like run full out, but you know, you have to have, you know, basically breathe hard. You got to like stress the body when you're doing aerobics. Don't believe the crap that says, well, you can do gardening and regular leisurely activities and that's all you need for cardiovascular. That's nonsense. That's not going to help at all. If you really want a healthy cardiovascular system, you have to put some stress on the heart so the heart can adapt to the stress, just like your muscles adapt when you lift the weights. As you increase the poundages, the muscles, you know, will try to compensate for the increased stress by growing. And the same thing with your heart. You have to put a certain amount of stress on the heart for it to adapt and get health benefits. Of course, you don't want to put too much stress on the heart because that's another story. Or if you have an existing pathology such as high blood pressure or existing heart disease, you got to be careful about the level of intensity that you use when you exercise. So that's about it. Hopefully you've gotten some benefit. Now you know the truth about what really causes aging. I will say that, and I think I mentioned this I know I mentioned it in my articles in Applied Metabolics, but when you see these people that live to 110, if you read about them, you'll see that a lot of them have never engaged in any formal exercise. They don't follow any particular anti-aging diet like calorie restriction, and yet somehow they make it to 109. How do they do it? Well, they do it because they have mutant genes that are extremely efficient at DNA repair. And the DNA repair is basically the core of aging, of all aging. Of all the hallmarks of aging, I'd say that DNA repair is the most important. If you could have your DNA repaired constantly, you'd live to an advanced age. And unfortunately, most people do not inherit or don't have the mutant genes that these people, these super centenarians as they're called, who live to well over 100, most people don't possess those mutant genes. So the best they can do is take other measures that will maximize their longevity and avoid things that will definitely decrease longevity, such as smoking, excessive drinking, becoming fat, not getting enough sleep, and excessive stress. All of these will cut short longevity no matter how or what kind of longevity genes you have. I've seen people whose parents and grandparents lived well into the 90s and 100s, but some of these people did not follow good health practices, and even some of them smoked cigarettes. They did terrible things, and yet even because of their good genes, they still managed to make it into their 70s. One example of this was the former late-night talk show host Johnny Carson. His father lived into the 90s. His grandfathers lived in the 90s. He died in his 70s because he was a heavy drinker and smoker. He cut short his own longevity. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. If you want more information on nutrition, exercise science, anti-aging research, ergogenic aids, hormone therapy, supplement science, which supplements work, which don't, the most effective fat loss techniques, women's health and fitness, all of this is featured in my Applied Metabolics, www.appliedmetabolics.com. It's 30 to 45 pages every month. There's no ads. It's all evidence-based information and includes my 60 years of constant study and experience that cannot be matched by anyone else. And I am a professional writer. I've been writing professionally for about 45 years with thousands of articles published. I know how to write. I know how to communicate to the public. So it's very easy to understand the articles in my Applied Metabolics. And most importantly, they're all practical, all useful. They'll help you in your workouts. They'll help you maintain your health. And they will even help you slow down the aging process. So subscribe today, www.appliedmetabolics.com. When you subscribe, send me an email, and I'll send you an invitation to join my private Applied Metabolics Facebook page, where each day I post new information on nutrition, exercise, science, and general health and medicine. I have an email portal on my Applied Metabolics webpage, where I will answer questions submitted to me by current subscribers only. I do not answer unsolicited questions. I answer the questions for my subscribers as an appreciation of their subscription, a kind of a bonus to their subscription. So my questions, any questions directed at me, will only be, I'll only answer it for current subscribers. You're welcome to leave comments under these videos about possible future video ideas. I will consider them if I feel that if they will benefit a larger number of people. The only thing else I could say is if you want to have the best friend you'll ever have, go to your local shelter, adopt a dog. Adopting a dog will probably have a life extension effect. It's not considered a hallmark of aging, but having a dog will ease loneliness. It's good to know you have a being around you that's 100% loyal and devotes their whole life to you. That's a great stress reduction tool. So get a dog. Go to your local shelter, adopt a dog. They're the greatest. You won't be sorry. Thank you for